got it.
I want it.
Trust me.
But, practice makes perfect. But one of the things too is just we need to practice to be happier more, right? I don't know why we have to do that, but for some reason I think we need to do that. And thanks, guys. I don't know if you've heard, but there was some sad news in India. And and it's kind of hit them with a big shockwave. Ankit's here. But it's been predicted to us that, we were going to be hit with another pandemic of suicides and depression.
Wow.
And so there's been something happened in India that's kind of took India off guard. And so we've got Mansi here to kind of share with us some peace today and reminder of, the things that we need to do to find in ourselves, like we've been talking about for quite some time. Mansi, hi.
Hi.
Oh, and Anandmai. Oh my gosh, I'm so blessed that both of you showed up today. Yes, I'm going to light my candle.
Yeah.
There we go.
News today. What happened with one of our popular Bollywood actor, and he opted to suicide somehow, and that was shocking for the nation because he was a youth icon, and we still
Let me get
can't.
my candle.
I can't get my candle lit. So there we go.
Mansi, you need to unmute. I can't hear you. And that was shocking, and it's difficult to digest what happened. And he was so young. I mean, there are no words to explain. And what a terrible. I mean, because we can relate to that person. Basically, he was so real. He was natural. He was not like a star for us because he was from the middle class family, and he did tremendously well. And he was there in Mumbai. I mean, what we call as a dream, but it was a big loss, and he was our age. I mean, so I still don't understand what happened. And when I read the news, I was shocked, and I wanted my wife to read again because I was not sure. I mean, whether I'm reading it right or someone is doing a prank thing. And I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know. And so just for Sushant Singh Rajput, I can light a candle and just pray for his family and for the Lord.
I'll just get a candle. Just give me 1 second.
So Anandmai, what do you have to say on this? I mean, because you were you know how to handle those kind of mental pressures, and you have a lot of people calling you and talking, because we are not sure what to do. I mean, I'm not able. So I can't focus myself. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can talk, but it's difficult. I don't understand what's going on.
I think entire day has been a mess. Sorry, Anandmai, go on.
As you're saying, Ankit, it's been shock for everyone, even for me. When you shared the link with me, I read it twice. That what happened? Is it true? Is it not? Then I just ran to my television and changed the channels to check what's going on. And after that, I have been thinking what we were discussing yesterday. That what exactly goes for a person to decide to opt for something painful, what exactly he was going through. So what we call here in India, uske paas sab kuch tha. He had everything, money, fame, and a lot of fan following and everything. What I realized,
Ankit, can we hold the candles for just a minute, please?
Okay, then I need to get one from my meeting.
Yeah, Anandmai, if you can get one, please. Thanks.
I think there's just so much disturbance right now. Every day I read the news, and it's more and more deaths that are wrongful. And
it's unprecedented, Kim. It's unprecedented. Like the situations that we deal with, it's unprecedented. And we think that these celebrities have it all. I mean, if they need help, they can go and seek help. Of course they don't have any dearth in financial resources or anything. So much he had following of 10 million followers on Instagram, and he was a very, very popular youth icon. I had personally interacted, with him quite a few times, and he was very down to earth. He was very much with it. He was very energetic, very lively. Any of the co-actors that you go and find out things about him, everybody is like, it's just unbelievable. Like even when I read the news this afternoon, I went and read it across through few channels to confirm that are you sure? Are you reading this? I mean, I just needed that time to even comprehend that in my mind that, is this for sure? Is this real? Like, is it happening? He was only 34.
Well, we've been having a wave of those with younger people in their 24s, 20 ages to 24, some college students in the area, and it's been shocking us as well. So you think they have their whole life ahead of them. At the age of 37 or 34, you think that you have a stability of life and understanding. That's very hard when somebody has made it that far and is successful. It's hard to understand the sufferings that they're going through. But like we talk about on our show with the performers, they miss that interaction with the people. That's what keeps them going every day. That's their lifeline, whether they're making money or not. I mean, most of these people haven't made a real income in a long time. But what people don't understand as a performer is the acceptance. Remember the A's that we were talking about?
Yeah.
It's that acceptance of people, that they need that. And they're not getting that in this time. And most of these actors at that level, a lot of them are very low. A lot of people don't realize what it takes to be up there, and it can be very lonely. So many prayers to the family, because that's who blames themselves, is the family and the close friends when something like this happens. And
sorry, can I just interrupt you? Can we just pause and say a little prayer for his soul to rest in peace, please? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
it's so if you could give us some things that we can meditate on, reach out to other people, to maybe I don't think we'll ever understand, but to help us find some peace.
I'm concerned about those people who are not covered by media, and I mean, no one knows whether they have committed suicide or whether it's a natural death, because people like general public who are in their, I mean, who live alone in different cities. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, he was a star and that's why we got to know and we are following. But there are a lot of things happening around, and also.
But Ankit, I think even when you look at his Instagram feed and everything, he was a youth icon. Lot of people followed. He was so inspirational. So yeah.
Mansi, I just have one concern that everyone is talking about. He has everything. I don't believe money is not everything. Basically, I believe that he was not having a good family, and he was. That's one my personal belief, because he lost his mother in 2002. His father is living alone in Patna, so he was alone. He was with all those, I mean, people who are there for work, basically. So when you talk about family, there was no family as such. I maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's what I'm saying. People think that when you have money, you have everything. I don't believe so.
No, not at all. Money is not everything
family at all. Is something which is there, and money is right here. And also, you need two friends. You don't need work friends, or you don't need friends or acquaintance or people who are with your colleagues and all. You need two friends.
It's that virtual versus reality situation going on. So that is the problem. So yeah.
And I think that's what I mean. Bollywood and all those fame or popular industry suffering from, because they can't they can't throw their heart out to anyone. I mean, because they're afraid that, I mean, their prestige and their all those things would matter, and that's what they're earning. I mean, so I'm surprised. I mean, what to do? Difficult time.
You know, remember when we talked about the other day where you could do a million great and wonderful things for people, and one mistake, just one mistake, can destroy your life because people judge you on that one mistake and not. And that maybe, you know, maybe he just had carried a lot on his shoulders, and one mistake, you know, and a lot of people don't know how to accept, or maybe it was, you know, a few. We'll never probably know the whole heart of the matter. But I think what we need to do is start reaching out to people and listening. Somebody reached out to me the other day and shared a beautiful story with me. I had no idea that somehow or another my interaction saved their child. I had no idea. I just started crying. That it's been years, and you know, thanks to social media, you kind of catch up with someone. You go, "Wow, I'm so happy you're doing so great." I had no idea that he was where he was at in his life, and probably would have killed himself. So, and his mother reached out to me and thanked me. So
I wanted to comment, Ankit. Money is not everything, of course, but money is not important unless you don't have it. If you don't have money, then it's very important.
No, I am completely agree. I certainly agree. But people don't do suicides when you have no money or when you have too much of money. There are a lot of things also going around. I mean, that's what's happening. And you know that if someone is not having money, they go out and rob, they go out and do a lot of other stuff. They don't kill themselves. I mean, very, very rare case. So there should be something which is going on, and that is what depressing is all about, because I'm listening to the news and everyone is saying that he has everything and he is full of life and all those things. I don't understand. I mean, I don't agree with all these things.
Well,
Zach wanted to chime in.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that, you know, the entertainment business, and I'm only in the music side of it and other stuff, but I do know and I actually met Robin Williams once. Okay. And when I met him, he wasn't on, he was off. And basically he was telling me even back then, and I met him in 1991. And, you know, we were talking about depression because, you know, I know what that's like. I suffer from it. And he was telling me that when you get to a certain level of fame or fortune or whatever you want to call it, he said, then you're never allowed to be off. He said, even when you're resting and you're sleeping, you're thinking about how you got to be on. And he said, if you don't have the fortitude and the aptitude, like the young lady said just now, to separate fiction from actual reality, he said the two become blurred. Now, this was way before social media and everything, you know, had blew up. And you if you look back on a lot of the entertainers that have just decided to call it quits. One of the greatest singers of all time, Phyllis Hyman, I actually opened up and worked with her. She suffered in silence for years. So getting back to what Kim said, that's what it comes down. It's about talking. Like she said, she touched somebody's heart and saved them and didn't even realize it. And these entertainers and actresses and, you know, Bollywood and people of all that ilk, they have this, like Ankit said, this facade. This is who I am. I got to always be on. I got to wake up and be on. I got to get on social media. And social media is very, very good, but it can be very, very bad because the more people you have following you, the more closed off you actually are. It actually works in reverse. You can have billions of people follow you, but you're closed off because you can't get an intimate relationship with all of them. So you have to give them snippets of you. You're like, oh, I'll give them selfies of me doing this, or I'll give them selfies of me singing, or I'll do this, right? But as you do that, you're actually never off. You don't find yourself. You don't breathe. You don't get a chance to smell the flowers. You're constantly on. If you smell a flower or go somewhere for yourself, you got to be on for everybody else. And I think, and I know that depression thing, if it was that bad and that person took their life, that happened way before they decided to just pull the trigger on it. You know what I mean? It was something that was there that hurt them so bad that they had to escape pain. And that's what I wanted to add. And I'm very, very sorry. I didn't hear about it, but I'll look it up and read about it. And my prayers and condolences go out to everybody in your country, because I know it's a major thing, for real.
It's heavy. And Jack, you couldn't have hit the nail harder. When I was being coached getting into the TV industry, one of the things that I was taught, like right off the bat from a very harsh director who was teaching me how to dress and everything and aim at the camera, you know, everything. And he made a big change, great change for me. But what impacted me most was the words, don't ever leave home unless you're production ready. Ever. Never walk out that door, because there will always be a camera that will accidentally get you. And that was fearful. I was like, oh my gosh. You know, and then one day it's true, because I'm not really that famous, so I'm not going to worry about it. But you know, and so what if somebody catches me on a bad day? People have bad days, but they make you afraid of looking back. They make you afraid of putting on 10 pounds. They make you ashamed of, and there's a lot of pressure. Those guys, there are a lot of pressure about weight, about their appearance. It's you know, people don't know.
The one bad photo will end up on the back of a tabloid.
Forever.
Yes.
Forever.
But Yogi Kumar, you
took a bad photo one time and said that they were going to throw, and finally I'm just like, fine, do it. I look horrible. I look very, very horrible. Fine, whatever. I don't care. It's just...
And Tim, it's not just famous people. I remember many years ago, a friend of mine met I believe I pronounced his name correctly, but he was actually going to school in one of our local schools, Carolina Friends, and he actually committed suicide as a young student and everything. And his folks actually started a foundation in his name and in his honor, which I think still runs and everything, but it actually tries to encourage young children, not to, when I say young children, I'm talking about teenagers and things of that nature, to actually talk and to actually communicate with people so that they don't have that desire to take their own lives and everything. So I just remember, like I said, that was many years ago. It was probably decades ago, and everything that happened. And one of the things I've done add to that has always been a concern of mine and everything, even in this modern day, the corona age that we're living in and everything. And I'm afraid that we may even see more of this kind of thing happening throughout society, because one of the things that's happening is that we're having some breakdowns of society that are very much needed, breakdowns in our and reforms in our education system, reforms, and not just here in the United States, but worldwide. Reform in our education system, reform in our ways that police are treating people, ways that prisoners are treating, reform in even gender equality and things of that nature. But at the same time, we're also separating people a lot of times from their community. I mean, like if you think about the hospitals throughout the world, and a lot of these hospitals, you're having to stay in the hospital alone. You're having to stay in the hospital alone and with just the medical care professionals. And I mean, I have a great deal of respect for medical care professionals. I understand why they're doing what they're doing. But at the same time, we have to find ways to communicate, let the family communicate with the people who are ill, even if it's doing it through teleconferencing or through different other kind of ways or through the phone, because if they lose that communication, that's oftentimes when this breakdown happens and when they start thinking about these very dark thoughts that a lot of us have. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I am a big fan of living, trying to go for that record of 200. I jokingly tell folks and everything of living to be 200 and things of that nature. But at the same time, it's probably not realistic, and I might just be a little bit afraid of what's on the other side. But there's a lot of other folks that don't have those same kind of fears, and for that reason, they might want to take themselves out of this plane that we live in, on the earthly plane. And that's just one of my concerns, is that we got to find a way to let communication happen, because it's that reaching out and tying in and being able to reach out to your people that are in your life. It is the ways that you're able to actually hopefully stop these folks from doing this. And by the way, Ankit, I saw that you mentioned to me that it was the manager that had also committed suicide. That's not actually the one I was referring to. I believe there was a Bollywood actress also that recently committed suicide in May that was separate from this particular actor, and that's what I was referring to that I had learned about. So it seems like in the Bollywood community, y'all have had 3 recently within the last 2 months or so.
Mark, it's not 3. I mean, I think we lost over around 7 to 10 people in Bollywood in last couple of
7
months.
or 10? Wow.
7 to 10. I mean, I have to
Wow.
count it, but and most of them are prominent names, and we are watching and seeing them since our childhood.
So I've got something positive to enlighten on this. We all know Henny Morales, who is a Hollywood producer, and he had started a mission a year ago to innovate small movie clips and things like that to promote the awareness of suicide to help prevent it. And he had started this a year ago. Maybe we can join hands to help support those kind of programs, because I think, he believes that the help centers are kind of there, but that's not enough, right? Awareness is where it's going to happen. So maybe we can join hands, make a task.
I had a long conversation with Mansi.
Just this morning. This morning.
Discussing about mental health and how we can bring back some good episodes on IBM TV, because Mansi have just floated an organization, a global mental health awareness kind of an organization globally, and we wanted to do something on IBM TV. And we were discussing that, and it was a good discussion. And suddenly, I don't know, this news happened, and then we thought of doing something today just to discuss it. So we wanted to do this show on Thursdays.
Kim, as you were talking about and everything, and one of the great fears that I know happens here in the United States and throughout the world is there's a lot of folks here that are homeless and that are facing all kinds of mental illness kind of challenges. And unfortunately, that's not taken, in my mind, seriously enough by our health professionals. And that's global. There's a lot of this that needs to go on in terms of tackling very concrete issues that go on with mental illness. But a lot of times we try to put these people in little boxes and little things, or we try to over medicate them. There's a lot of things that we do that are not fair, in my mind, in the ways that we treat folks that have various mental ailments and everything. Because like I said, we talk about people that have cancer, we talk about people that have the things that are easy for us to see in some form or another. The brain is a wonderful instrument, because let's be honest, it is part of our body, but it also has amazing capabilities that we don't even understand. How many of us
but it's like, it's like saying, but I think it's more like saying that
we don't understand.
I think it's more like, it's easy to say that I have a broken foot, but it's not easy to say I have a broken heart, because you can't see it.
You can't see it.
You can't see it.
I would like to say that Yogi Kumar, you're on a show with Mark and me. You can't be polite. You got to jump in there and say what you wanted to say. I know you had your hand up before.
The thing is, I think we're all courteous in this situation, but I want to offer IBM TV.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Tim. What I wanted to add to Ankit's point, and we are discussing here that money and fame is not everything. And you will remember from our first show when I asked the question, what are the human needs? So the human need is not the bread, home, shelter, clothes. And everyone has different human needs. It's sometimes, for me, it could be money. For you, it could be fame. For Mansi, it could be just love and companionship. So what if Mansi is loaded with millions of dollars? She'll not be happy because she's not getting what actually her need is. What if I want money and I am loaded with a lot of people to love me and I don't have money? What will I do with all those people? And when such people come to us talking about their needs, I have realized that they always communicate before taking these harsh steps. Either their communications are verbal or non-verbal. They always communicate, and they walk to a particular person they feel that they will walk them out of the situation. And when the doors are shut on them, all hopes are lost. So and when they come to us, we said, no, everything will be all right. You have got all the money, you have got all the fame, you have good friends, and just don't think about it. And then we judge them on our belief systems, on our filters, and we ask them to see the life from our eyes. It's about them, it's not about us.
Yeah,
So
and not only that, but and Jim, you may agree with me on this, and I'm just curious to hear what y'all have to say about this. But particularly coming from a different culture and everything. But I know here in America that a lot of times, too often, our cultural institutions, and I'm just gonna call them out, our religious institutions, oftentimes make it very much of a ugly thing when these things happen. I mean, they try to make it seem as if you've taken your own life or if you've done this, that you can pretty much forget any sort of afterlife glory. But a lot of the times they make that kind of like connection and everything. Whereas I don't think that we have the right to make that judgment. Like last time I checked, I don't have God in my name, so I don't think that I have the right to make that kind of judgment. But a lot of our religious leaders do make that judgment, and I think that that is a disservice to the community at large when they try to make a judgment on people based on what they're going through in their life, based on their own moral codes. And yes, I think we all need to have some sort of morality within our lives and everything, and we should live good and just kind of lives. But at the same time, I can't impose my moral code on somebody else. And I think a lot of times that's what happens. And I don't care what the religion is. I know I'm imagining that y'all are from India. You may either be Hindu or Buddhist or something along those lines. But like I said, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Muslim, whether it's Judaism, I think it's across the board in terms of the way religious institutions treat this very serious issue. And I think that that is one of the great disservices. Our religious leaders, our political leaders, and a lot of our other quote unquote leaders do not take this issue as seriously as they should, or they try to paint some very negative stereotypes. And I think that that is just totally wrong. Zach,
I think they forget the word. I think they forget the word humanity amongst all of those other religions that you've just spoken about. I think they forget the word humanity, and if humanity starts existing more, we would, have much easier lives. So,
and as we are defined as humankind. So we in all this race of achieving so much, we forget to be human and we forget to be kind.
If I just share a little snippet of my personal experience, I have had my own share of anxiety and depression as well. And the easiest thing that for me has been to speak to strangers about it.
Yes.
Always. I mean, whenever I've been down or whatever has happened, it's very easy to talk to somebody commuting in the same train and just have a conversation and just let it out. And the other person also responding, in whatever their own thoughts or mindset or whatever it is. And it's so easy to do that. I think we need to promote more of that, humanity needs to exist more. People need to listen to each other more. And it's just about having a conversation. It's nothing else. Nobody's asking for any money. Nobody's asking for anything more from you. So I don't know why we cannot have that kind of culture across the world.
I mean, a lot of times that's all people need, and I want to hear from Zach as well, but a lot of times that's all people need is somebody to hear their voice, because I know sometimes
exactly.
I haven't had that experience yet of wanting to, and notice I said yet, because no telling what will happen in the world, but I haven't had that experience of wanting to take myself out. But I have had friends that have, and they have reached out to me, and I have actually tried to communicate back with them and let them know why I need them here on this earth and why I am encouraging to stay here and everything. And that's oftentimes what people just need is a good voice to hear them. Because a lot of times that cry out, sometimes we ignore that cry out. Let's be honest. A lot of times we get busy, we get caught up, we hear those cry outs, and then after something happens, I actually am, even as I'm hearing this story of your Bollywood actor and everything, I'm wondering how many people did he actually reach out to? And some of those people might have also been busy with Bollywood, might have been busy with their own lives, and they were not there for him and everything. But I have a funny feeling that we may find out as this story develops that there were people that he actually did reach out to. And I hope I'm wrong, but I have a funny feeling that we will find some people that he reached out to, and for whatever reasons, they ignored. And I will tell you that I will take a stop in a busy day if I feel that a friend of mine is going through some serious times, and at least try to have a conversation with them. And as they like to say that expression, talk them off the cliff. Because like I said, in whatever ways I can, and I don't care how busy I am, and I can, as Zach can testify, as Ankin can testify, as even Jim, who's learned recently, can testify. I've got a lot of things on my plate, and I'm
I have a
oftentimes
question.
very busy.
I have a question for Mansi and for Anandmai. Our viewers would like to know that how important is that one call just to sort out a lot of things. I mean, and that call could be to an unknown person or to a known person where you can just pour your heart out without the judgments. Because I think
As important, I think as important as it would have been for Sushant to, before
That's what I'm
hanging
saying,
himself, make a call, have a conversation, talk it out. And I think those darkness or depressing thoughts that are rising in the minds, like they can just rest for a little while. Even if for a few minutes, I think it would give that reasoning at least a chance for the reasoning inside your own mind to happen to yourself, where you can, come to terms with acceptance. So
Yeah. So media is also
I
saying
think
that
Zach
he made
wanted to
a
say
call.
No. Let her go. No, go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
media is saying that he made a call at midnight to one of his friends who stayed upstairs, just one floor above his, and the friend did not respond to his call. Maybe he was sleeping or something else. But it's too important to be heard, because when I was in depression, which I shared in my first conversation with you and Jim, Ankit, uh, what only thing I wanted was to be heard. I didn't want any action to be taken on what I was feeling. I just wanted the one person to hear me out, that what I am going through, what I feel about it. And when I felt that okay, I'm not being heard properly, or my messages are being interpreted in a different way and they are being used against me, then I felt that I'm in a trap. It's a vicious cycle. I'm telling and then things are bouncing back to me. So yes, maybe a call to a stranger, because for me that person was an anchor of good hope. But if and then I took help from a professional. She was a stranger to me, but when I opened up to her and she heard me with non-judgment, uh, I became someone else, which I was the true one, not the one who was depressed. And every night I was thinking, oh God, I just don't want to see the next morning, because again, the same things will happen to me. So that one call, and that's what we were discussing yesterday also, that we need a 24 across 7 helpline, where when someone, like if I call, for example, I call Mansi and she's busy and she's not taking up the call, I have that 124 across 7 number where I can
that
call
is
and just
exactly what we are building, Anandmai. That is exactly what we are building on our global platform. That is exactly the kind of work that we are doing right now. I just felt, when I heard this news today, I felt it was like I felt personally responsible. I just felt like if only I had done all of these things which I'm doing in this year a bit sooner, it might have, saved a life. And I was completely broken hearted, broken down, everything this afternoon when I saw the news, and it was just a case of, a personal loss kind of thing. So
But
there
Mansi, it
are
is
few
not
of
your
my
fault.
friends.
Just to share one more time with the viewers, and Len just joined. So Len, we have lost one of our popular actor. He was very young. He was just 34, and he hanged himself to death. He opted for a suicide sometime today afternoon, and the nation is in shock. And he was popular. He was successful as a Bollywood actor, and I mean, as everyone says that he reached all those success what it requires. I mean, but it was a big and large, or maybe a long journey, a long career. But I don't know what happened, and he just opted for a suicide, and that is what shocked us in India.
Well,
And we're trying to, we just set it up.
I really feel for the family and feel for him and people who know him. I've been through this with a daughter who people didn't know, and we didn't know until she was 21. She was sexually abused when she was 3 and then 4, and she became anorexic and bulimic. And we didn't even know about that until she was probably 17 or 18. And then basically at that point, she ended up going into a hospital. We had no idea why she was going in. She went into a psychiatric hospital, and then a number of eating disorder clinics. and actually was starving herself to death when she found out she was pregnant at the age of 25. She was 4.5 months pregnant and went to the doctor because she was fainting and had all sorts of issues. At some point in time, the doctor looked at her and said, well, besides the fact that you're pregnant, what are the other issues? And she had no idea she was pregnant. So I mean, my wife and I have never given up on our daughter. She'll be 50 this year, and she's in a wonderful place. But it took years and years of counseling to get out of it. And then when she did get out of it, she actually spent a lot of time counseling young women who had eating disorders, young people, because even men will have that problem. So I'm interested. I love to see a program as Kimberly was putting up in the chat. I would love to see a program on this, because if you can even help one person, that's
Yes, exactly.
What I was going to mention. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kim.
No, go ahead, Zach, please.
I was just going to say what Lynn, was just talking about. I had something similar with somebody in my family that I'm close to. But what I was going to mention is with the depression thing, a lot of times, you can deal with certain things because it's different for everybody. Here was a gentleman that obviously had what we would think the world. But what happens is, and I can only speak for myself, when you get to a point sometimes and you just don't feel good, you can be getting through your days and months and years, but it's that one thing that triggers you and sets you off. And I've worked with a lot of people and have, issues, and, that one thing, it could be, everything could be perfect that day, but because you got all of this built up currency of depression inside of you, that one thing will set you off, and you're like, you know what? I got to leave the planet. And that's the sad part, because when you get to that point where you're ready to actually physically leave the planet, you've been through some stuff. And fortunately, there are programs, here in America. We got the hotline, the suicide hotline, and there's places you could call. You could go into any hospital here, and Kim will attest to this, and go in emergency room and tell them, listen, you don't feel well, and they are obligated to take you. They can't turn you away. And I think people with fame and fortune always feel a stigma, like, oh, I don't want to be seen doing this, or I don't want to be seen. People will see me as weak, and my fans won't follow me anymore. They won't love me. But it's, again, like Manish said, it's that self-affirmation of false love. Like the other young lady said, self-affirmation of false love is not real love. If you don't have love for self, you can have a house made of money, but you're just going to hate yourself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right here. Every day I live by love myself.
I have a solution. So I just shared what we did. It's a social experiment. So what we did, we connected a lot of people from Odisha and Bihar who just know English. Who just know Hindi. And the Hindi is different from what we speak. You know that. Okay. And Anandmai also will relate to it. And we connected them to people who are in US and Canada, who are retired, and they don't have anything to do. Because in US, that, people who are retired, or who don't have people, or who don't have their family around, they don't know how to pass their time. So once you connect both the people, one is in Hindi language and one is in English language, they started communication. Okay, somehow.
Right.
And the person who speaks Hindi, he started speaking English. And the person who speaks English, he started speaking Hindi. It's just an experiment we did. We wanted to do with something with government, but it never happened. But what we can do is to have the 24/7 hotline. We can have a lot of volunteers from different countries who are available at this point of time, and let them talk to people from the other side of the world. We can run that 24/7.
Yeah.
That way we won't judge anyone. It's
See,
more
that
about
is, I think that is the entire reason when I formed this organization, when I formed GMHA, Global Mental Health Awareness Platform. And on this platform, we're trying to build a directory of counselors from all around the world. Yeah. So what will happen is that at some point or the other, somebody in some country will always be available. Right. Because it's the time zones, right? So it's not country wise. It's not. So it's a global platform. So that is the need, and that is the reason I studied each country individually. Apart from US and United Kingdom, I belong to London originally, but apart from those two countries, all these rest of the countries, they don't even have any suicide. UAE did not have a suicide hotline up until this pandemic happened.
Wow.
At all. At
Wow.
all. And even now they have a restricted timing on it, that 9 to 3 or 9 to 5. I mean as if suicide is going to come in those timelines. You know what I mean?
Right,
I mean, it's
I know.
ridiculous to have a hotline, and it does not even make sense to have it's not called a hotline then.
My phone didn't ring at 9 in the morning. My phone rang at 10 at night when somebody needed me, right? So yeah, it just doesn't. And maybe they were trying to call the hotline. I don't know, but what I will share with you too, my other concern is there is an overabundance of antidepressant medications.
Right.
And what I mean by an overabundance, when the doctors were prescribing me with antidepressants, they said, it's like fitting you to a pair of jeans. There's 1,000 pairs out there, and we just got to find the right ones that fit. Some doctors don't believe that. Some doctors believe that one gene fits all, right? That ain't the fact. And I am a true testimony, and thank God my doctor was the kind. Remember, I shared the story. He called me every day. That's what we were testing out. We were testing out antidepressants. One of them put me in so much horror in my mind. I was found curled up in the corner of the bathroom, shaking, and I was hitting a panic button on my phone because I knew something happened.
Yeah.
But I couldn't move. All I could see was horror thing. You have no idea. I've never seen anything. I never thought my mind could go there, to be honest with you. And it was the alteration of the drugs that put my mind there. I was so scared to try the next set of medications. Eventually they convinced me. We tested some others and found a fit, right? But not all drugs treat everybody the same. See, this is the other thing. That drug might work for some of the people, right? But you don't know if he was being treated. We don't know if it was the right fit of drug.
Right.
It could be that the drug was so horrible, but his doctor kept saying, just give it time, just give it time. And it was so horrible. I want to tell you what, if they had kept me on that drug, I would have probably killed myself, because what I saw was so horrific. Like, I saw things coming out of the wall. I saw things coming at me I thought these were horror movie stuff. And I'm scared to sometimes share with people about it.
But some antidepressants create hallucinations and as side effects. And I am a pharmacologist as well, so I am very, very well versed with the drugs. Some antidepressants do that. And when I practiced in London, for all these years, 15 years, I've practiced as a pharmacist in London, and every third person was on antidepressant. Every third person who walked into the pharmacy. Can you imagine the large number?
Wow. Unbelievable.
Wow. The pharmaceuticals on that is insane.
It's ridiculous.
What was the cause for the depression in London? I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, so many people are depressed. What is the cause?
Ankit, it's more weather related. We had an entire influx of depression, especially during winters. So a lot of it is weather related as well. It's the mood disorder, it's the seasonal, affective disorder, it's the weather disorder. So many of them, but majority of the people there are on antidepressants, and it's ridiculous because they are not going to help you cure the problem. They're just going to mask the problem. And we as pharmacists even used to practice that and say that this is, you need to go and see someone. You need to do some counseling.
Counseling is very important.
I think, Mansi, there's one more thing. I mean, I'm not an expert, but what I realized that the people who are depressed, they should go and there should be some kind of voluntary program where they would do the regular activities with all the people, something basically, so that they just.
There are in United Kingdom. There are shelters. There are a lot of programs happening, and because everything is free, their NHS is completely free. Doctors are free. Medicines are also free. So everything is free. So there are a lot of programs happening, but unfortunately, there has been no change seen in that rise of depression that has come across in last I think minimum 5 to 6 years, there has been an immense rise on that side.
This is the problem right here.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
Ankit,
The amount of time that we have to spend on it, the amount of acceptance and approvals that we look for on it.
Yeah.
We get extremely depressed. Even I get a little panicked if I don't hear from someone on a constant basis. I go, oh my God, did I forget to do something? I start to panic. But I think if we're seeing a rise in it, I look immediately at what has changed in our society. This has changed in our society.
True.
Every app, I have to be part of an app. I have to keep up. I have to maintain. Technology was supposed to be able to give us more free time.
It's been a bane. It's not been a boon. It's not been a boon at all. It's been a bane to our existence.
It's actually drained us like a battery, right? But
Lynn,
I read a book on this called, and I'll let you talk, Jim, just a second. But National Geographic did a beautiful article a few years ago, and I will find it. We spoke about this, and it's about the most joyful places on the earth. And you know what? It's not the places with all the money. And so a man did a deep research into why are all these people have so much joy and happiness in their life? Because we talked about happiness being something everybody seeks. And I will share this with everyone on our next show about all of this. But there are 3 things that you really need to seek and find, right? And it's pride, purpose, pride, and passion, right? And when you braid these things together, they lead you to the road of happiness and joy. But there's more to it than that, right? But Jim, go ahead. I just wanted to share that. We're gonna build on this. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I just wanted to talk to Lynn a little bit because Lynn knows that I'm a big fan of the CBD patch, and I use it. But unfortunately, the CBD patch cannot be applied to my heart in these cases, or to Mansi's heart.
Cannot.
And there is no cure for heartbreak.
No, there is not. And the question I was going to ask Mansi is, how were you basically dispensing antidepressants without somebody actually seeing someone to get a prescription for it? Or in England, can people, are antidepressants basically, I mean, I know.
No, they are prescribed. They are prescribed.
Right.
The antidepressants are prescribed, yes.
But there are countries, for instance, we were in Ecuador at a wedding, and my grandson's father was with us, and he was sick. So my daughter just simply went to the local pharmacy, walked in, and bought prescriptions over the counter, or not prescription, medications over the counter that you couldn't possibly buy here in the United States. So I was wondering if in England that was. I'm sorry?
We can buy all these medicines in India. I mean, we sometimes require prescription, but I mean, it's not. I mean, it's available. I mean.
Yeah,
I think Lynn, in UK and US, the laws are quite stringent on the medicines, on the prescription only medicines, and on the over the counter. In England, we can only buy paracetamol and like along those side of over the counter painkillers, very low dosage, etc. Even in paracetamol, if somebody is buying more than a pack, there is questions. There are a set of questions to be asked that why do you want it, etc., etc. So, but the regulations are not that stringent in other countries around the world. So, yeah.
Sure. That's. I mean, I understand that's true. I just was curious because you were talking about every one out.
Mansi, you know that.
Yeah.
And also what happened in India, that. I mean, there are pharmacists who are the degree holders, and there are people who work in pharmacy. And if you ask for medicine A, they will give you medicine B, and they sometimes they are not aware about, because there might be some salt change, and they said, okay, this can replace this one, and we just take it. I mean, I don't know. I always. No, it happens in India. I mean, Mansi and Anandmai.
It's true. It's true. It happens, Kim. The problem in India is, Ankit, because chemists are not taken seriously here. In India, the chemists are not taken. The pharmacists are not taken seriously.
Wow.
Whereas in other countries, in UK and in US, both of those countries, I mean, we are equally liable as the doctors are. If we prescribe, if we give out the wrong drugs, they can sue the doctor, the hospital, they can sue the pharmacist as well on duty. That who has given this out, but the laws are not at all.
Mansi, you know that we don't have a policy in India. There is no
That is the
policy there,
problem.
but there is
Here,
no
what
people
That is the
there.
happens
problem.
And it's not about
when
pharmacists, it's about doctors, and about a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Anandmai has to say something on that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
when in India you ask for a particular medicine, and if the pharmacist doesn't have it, he will say, I will give you from a different company.
Yeah.
And what if that company is adding or removing one of the salt from it? So, and we do not have the habit of writing the generic medicines in India. So the doctor gives us a name that, okay, this is the name of the medicine you want to take. And especially people with uh, bigger illnesses like kidney disease or heart disease, they are supposed to be given those particular medicines, but here they say, I will give it from a different company, and who knows, maybe a salt is missing, or maybe one more salt is added, which is not helping your patient. It's like working on an adverse thing.
Well, there's
And
also, I'm sorry, keep going. I'm sorry.
oh, no, that's okay. And
I-
adding to what you asked, Ankit, that there should be a group where people who are depressed should go to, and so there are a lot of therapies and groups where these things keep happening. But I'm telling you from this personal experience and the clients I have worked with, that people who are into depression, they are not willing to go to such places. They avoid crowd. So we as family and friends, we have to look for the minute details, what has changed in them. As I discussed yesterday, we have to see, have they gone quiet, have they gone loud, are they eating so much, are they not? Because see, all these are very minute things and we overlook them. Oh, he might be hungry today and that's why he's eating so much. What if that becomes a pattern? We have to read all these patterns, because when I was in depression, I was not willing to go. I was in a denial that I cannot get depressed because I was labeled as a bubbly child. um, then when I realized that, okay, I need a help, I was clueless, and I needed someone else to push me to the door, to the psychologist or the psychiatrist, that okay, go take your session, because you need that love. You want it. It's not that you want that significance in someone else's life, that okay, your life is not really important to you, your life is important to someone else. There's a very beautiful poem going on the social media. If you can google that and get, it's called Acha Aadmi Tha. And when you
Yeah.
listen to that poem, it says that what difference does that make when you go to a funeral and say and talk about that he was a good man or he was a good person? When he was alive or she was alive, you were not listening to his verbal or non-verbal communications. So we need to be very sensitive towards these things. Yesterday one friend of mine messaged me, hey, are you awake, about like 11 o'clock at night. And I was sleepy. I was so tired and I just wanted to sleep, but I messaged, hey, I'm there, what's up? He said, I felt low yesterday. So what's bothering? My parents are fighting. And so much of so. And I just heard him. And today morning he messaged, I wanted to end my life, but thank you for hearing it out. And it was just over the chat, not even on the phone call. I asked him to call me today and he said, no, I'm feeling okay. I'll call you some other time. Just being there and catching. So sometimes when you are into all these field, you become so sensitive even to the highs and hellos on the WhatsApp.
Right.
Because you
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
that someone is saying the hi or hello, uh, is it from a joy, is it from a place of joy and happiness, or is it from a place of depression? So you have to learn all those minute details, and you have to be sensitive about all these issues.
But
Someone
I didn't get that lesson in elementary school. I didn't learn that in high school.
yeah, so
No.
Jim, I think when we were talking about yesterday, a few days ago, so on this platform, I'm also trying to raise concerns about government policies about changing the education system all across the world. That where you can incorporate wellness or mental awareness, emotional wellness modules incorporated into studying from a very young age. So it's like how you are studying mathematics or English or whatever languages. Why not study a little bit about your own emotional awareness as well, because that will save us a lot of trouble towards substance abuse as well later on, when the kids reach university stage, and if they have a little bit of morale instilled into them along with all these other subjects. Kim was saying yesterday that, you know, the education system that we are living in, it's in the 19th century, whereas we have moved forward to 21st century. And that is so correct, because, you know, when the school started or established, we are just going on in the same direction. There is no change. We are static.
You know,
And
Kim,
that
there's a
just does not
dialogue.
help.
Hey,
There's a
Mansi,
dialogue
I think
from
I
the
pronounced your name right, but it's just been fascinating listening to some of the conversation. But I just know that, like, even here in our school system, a lot of times we're oftentimes giving people Ritalin and other things which are supposed to be for hyperactivity and things of that nature. And to me, as I just said in the chat room earlier and everything, what kid do you know who isn't hyper? I mean, I have two nephews.
All kids are
I think it's
hyperactive.
part of being
So
a
true.
kid.
Yeah.
If you're a child, you're going to
Yeah.
be hyper. That's just part of the nature of
I
growing
heard the
up.
word
So
bubbly.
just the fact that we overprescribe this and everything. And to come back to what Kim was talking about earlier and with the phone and everything, cyberbullying is a major factor of what goes
Yeah.
on and everything.
Yeah.
And that's also what leads to a lot of our kid suicides, because they're being bullied not just in person and directly, but they're also being bullied through the cyber world and everything of that nature. And that's something
Very
we
good
also
point.
have to address. And I agree with you. I think that I remember taking some health education courses when I was in grade school. I don't know if kids
Yeah.
even do that now, and I think that they should do it. And I'm not even, and even what I learned in health education was very basic. I mean, it was like, you know, the very basic wash your hands, the kind of stuff that we're learning again with COVID and some of the more basic healthcare kind of things. But in terms of the mental health, I don't remember that being touched on a lot. And this was in the 70s that I was in grade school and everything. So I don't remember that being touched on. I definitely don't remember a lot of other things being touched on that deal with our mental health. And a lot of times, and not just our mental health, but people forget that the mental health is associated with our emotional health. And that we have to think about both of those, our mental and our emotional health. To me, we're really made of many planes. We are physical beings, and I personally don't think we do a good enough job in that department either in terms of our exercise programs. But we're physical beings, we're mental beings, we're emotional beings, and yes, no matter what we think of as what that higher power is, for most of us, and I would argue all of us, we are some sort of spiritual being. So I think that that's all of us that have those components in us, but I don't think that hardly any of those four components are really taught in the way that they could be taught effectively in our school systems and things of that nature. So I definitely on board with everything that I can do to help y'all out in this platform and anything else to get the word out. So anything that I can do to help you in your organization.
Thank you.
I'm all the way here in North Carolina, but
Well, let's
you
promote.
have my support as well, and not just here on the IBM TV family, but any of the other places that I am connected with. And as Kim knows, I've got a deeper amount of connections throughout the area. So I would definitely look forward to helping you out.
Thank you so much.
Let's promote it.
No,
Let's promote this. Let's
definitely.
get going.
Yeah.
What day did we decide? Are we going to be doing this on Thursday? Ankit, are we going to do what
Thursday?
Day?
We're going to do Thursday.
Thursday,
I think we're going to have two shows. Both
Thursday will be 10:30 a.m. Thursday, and that would be every Thursday 1 hour. And the other show which we are discussing with Anandmai, we still have to work on the dates and time. So once I'll get that sorted, then we can do that. And we are doing one more show with one of the life coaches that is also in the queue. So I'm not sure about the dates, but what we can do is we can rerun that show. Then I had to discuss with Mansi as well. We can also translate in multiple languages. So let's see how it goes, and then we can put it forward accordingly.
That's going to be important, that we're not just about one language or one country or one faith, that we're unified for all, and we're going to join together as a community, because this needs to come to an end. There's no reason for anyone to ever feel so low that they have to take their own life. It's bad enough that we have people taking lives.
I have a question for Mansi and for Anandmai, that we are discussing that you need a counselor whenever you are down and whenever you are feeling low. Why can't we have those volunteers who understand and who will just talk to you in a different mood altogether and divert your mind and just discussing something else? Because sometimes the counselor is not available. At that time, what will you do? And also, you know, that counselor will judge you in a different manner because maybe initially you won't be able to open up yourself with a counselor.
And I think we need trained people, right? But you need a friend sometimes, just a friend. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
there are two. I think.
I'll add one more thing. You won't believe whenever there's a problem and whenever we have some kind of work issue and things like that, everyone on IBM TV called to Kim, and she sorted out.
That's because I don't panic. I'm
yeah, but you know what I have. I think what I've realized is Kim will be able to counsel a lot of people actually, because the reason being that she has herself gone through a lot of stuff. See, the people who ever go through it, like I have gone through anxiety and depression. I know what panic attacks feel like. I know how to train my mind, to distract my mind, to think about something else, to speak to people, to start reading, to go for a walk, whatever you need to do to get out of that zone that your mind has just taken you in. But all of those things, so I'm not a qualified psychiatrist or a psychotherapist or anything, but I know all these things because I've gone through it. I have gone through a lot of counseling. I've gone through, all those things. So I know how to deal with it. So people who have gone through things, they are very helpful because they know exactly that, what they have gone through, and they don't want anybody else to, go through the same amount of pain if they can help in any sort of way. I am also the author of 2 books. The first book that I had written was, Spread Your Wings. So it was a poetry book, but it was motivational poetry, and it was in top 10 Amazon bestsellers in 2018. I have just given out like loads of copies for free as well when this pandemic started, and I just started
share that message.
Let's
let's also get it verbally read. A lot of people, they don't read books. I know a lot of people who don't read, but they'll listen to a book being read. So let's get that on verbal. If it's good, let's get that on verbal. And Kit.
Mansi,
we were having a good discussion yesterday with Mansi and Anandmai discussing about all these things.
We had this conversation.
I still believe that we should take failure as an appreciation, because I think people are afraid for failure, a small failure or a big failure, and that is also a cause of a problem. And then they don't want to show that I got failed in this thing, and because of the judgmental, because the people judge you, and that's also a cause of a problem. Yes, Anandi, you want to say something?
Yes. I wanted to add to this, Ankit, and this is, I will quote the dialogue from Sushant's movie, that we always have a plan for our successes, but we are never taught what to do if we fail.
True.
And in this movie, he enacted a father of a boy who was in 12th standard, and he was depressed and was trying to suicide because he didn't succeed in his engineering exam. So we are always taught about that. What will we do? We'll go for a party if we succeed in this particular exam or in this area of our life. But what to do if we fail? We are never taught that. And
I just did a podcast on that, how to turn your failures into opportunities, that kind of thing. And it was very popular, like a couple of months back when this entire lockdown started. That was the first thing that I did. And it was all about, so when you fail, if you pick up the profile of any successful person on this planet, the profiles will always, list their failures as well. Nobody is successful without failing. Yeah, Ankit.
So Mansi, I also have, I'm not against success or failure, but I believe that when we say that that person is successful and that person is not successful, that is also a problem. Because to have those success, people just create a lot of pressure in their mind. For me, a person who is happy, who is satisfied, he's a successful person. No matter how much he's earning, no matter how much money he has, no matter how big is the house, and no matter how many cars that person has. Because we talk success, that he's successful just because of big money. I mean, we never talk about that he has a good family. He brought their...
then the question is, what is success? What is the definition of success?
See, and I asked it in my book, and everyone says happiness. Everyone.
Happiness.
Because I ask people to answer my book, right? I give them a list,
Yeah.
And success is happiness. But what is happiness to each person? But you got to define that
It's a very
here.
separate story for each one of us. It's
It is
not
a
the same
different story.
story.
Exactly.
For me, as I was telling earlier, that for me it could be money, for Mansi it could be love, for Kim it
Yeah.
could be fame. And if I judge my success, or I compare myself with Mansi's
Yeah.
success, she's having a very good relationship with her companion and partner, and I have a lot of money, and I start comparing, I will be sad. So
Yeah.
there is no comparison, because
There's no
we all have
comparison. No.
different stories and we all have
Yeah.
different needs.
Self
Certainly.
judgment.
Well,
And
Self
also, I'll
judgment.
tell you, I mean, I was discussing
We've
about,
talked about this.
I was discussing about my book, what I want to write, and all those things. That book is about failure and experience and how to overcome this. I mean, that is my journey basically. I don't want to reveal that much, but that was about failure. It was not about success.
So let
Yeah.
me tell you where the leaders made the biggest mistake in all of this. Dr. Arthur really was enlightening in the way we word things, right? And they determined whose lives and jobs were essential and whose weren't. See, if we go back to the beginning of this pandemic, immediately it was determined whose jobs and lives were essential and who isn't. And that should have never been done, ever. It really didn't need to be done. There were ways around this without panicking the way it happened, but we didn't address the issue quite fast. So we didn't. But you don't go telling people your jobs aren't essential. And essential. What you do is you figure out how to help them sustain
Yes.
during this crisis. A stimulus check to everyone. This is a question I asked the other day. What happened to all that money? Where did it go? We had trillions of dollars that was issued. Who's sitting on it? Because it should have gone into circulation and kept spinning. Is it? No. I'm right back where I am. Jim's right back where Lynn's right back where he is. All of you guys are right back where you were, whether you got a check or not. That money did not continue back to me. It didn't continue back to Ankit or Jim, and it should have, because that's what the cycle, circulation, stimulus. But it didn't. So David K. Johnson addressed this issue that we became the welfare tank for the wealthy. That stimulus check was for the welfare of the wealthy, not for us. So if I look at that stimulus check that should have stimulated and put money back into the local community somehow, and everybody should have gotten a little bit of it, nobody got a penny of it. So it felt like this and went to one place.
Just real quick, because I've got to get ready to bounce off and everything, and I know that Anki wanted me to come in and everything. Tomorrow we have our show, the radio show with Mark Lee. My guest tomorrow will be Rufus Stevens. He's actually wrote a book called Life Lessons from Miss Maddie. Life Lessons from Miss Maddie, which is actually related to what we're talking about, because he is a motivational speaker, a religious person, a church leader, and things of that nature. He's a corporate executive, and this is a compelling look into his life of a loving, fearless single mother of 5. She refused to let conditions of marital separation, material want, and blatant segregation dampen her desire to raise her children, while also being a resource for so many more children who didn't carry her name. Following any one of the 8 simple life lessons in this book will enrich your life. Imagine the benefits of following all 8. So she's definitely got some great advice for us and everything. So we're looking forward to that conversation with Rufus Stevens. One of the quotes he has in here, a quote to live by, is not one drop of my self-worth depends on your opinion of me. And that is from Quincy Jones. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you, from Maya Angelou. And you can have anything in the world you want if you help enough people get what they want, and that is from Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar. Yep.
Those are wise words, and I'm going to definitely try to tune in tomorrow night. I've got a lot of battles that I'm having to battle through right now, but I will definitely, because all of this is inspirational during a time that I'm getting kicked in the gut as well. So I appreciate these messages of good, warm words, and I think that we're all going to succeed because we're fighters, but there are people out there who are not. We also need to wrap up the day, but Lynn has had something to say. He's such the quiet man.
No, I was actually going to just simply say I agree with both of the ladies, things that they said, because if you haven't been through it, sometimes you really can't counsel other people. I mean, my daughter has actually saved several people their lives who were going to commit suicide, and she actually tried several times to commit suicide. Okay, and as I mentioned, was starving herself to death when she found out she was pregnant, which basically saved her life. But I'm just going to mention two things. Number one, I put this shirt on just because I wanted to look like Jim today, and I felt that was important. And so that brings in the subject of laughter. I think laughter can cure a lot of ills and help a lot of people, and we do need to laugh a lot more. And so because nobody's mentioned it other than Jim with the patch. Please, and unfortunately, the ladies can't do this, and Ann can't do it yet. But we're not, because we're not in India. But please look at the family.dollarstore.com, the IBM TV website. Click on the green on the green button. Support the mission of Money Masters, which is about financial education. But maybe we can say now it's going to expand to more, because we're going to talk about emotional and physical well-being as well. And I just love the mission. And with that, I know you have to fly the airplane.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. And what I want to add to that is part of healing from so much pain that you want to kill yourself is finding a purpose in life, because that's what happens. You've lost your purpose. Part of what Lynn's company does is reach out to people and helps us serve the underprivileged and educate people so that they don't have to be in poverty. And that's what we want to do, is inspire. That's all IBM TV has been about since we began, was to inspire the ability to go beyond who you are, to be more than what you've been given, because a lot of us haven't been given everything in life. And so we want to inspire that you can do that. And call us. Aunt Kit and I don't know how many times we get emails. We are there. Don't think you're going to overload us. If we can't handle it, we've got a team of people now. And I want to raise a candle. Again, my heart is broken because I've also been called that there have been other suicides in our area of young people just taking their lives because they cannot take this isolation anymore. So let us pray for all of the souls. And I want to thank everyone for that. And let's get our youth up to share some good social. Thank you.
That was a wrap for the day, and thank you for joining us on Saturday. It was a great talk, and tomorrow is Economics Monday.
Yes.
Hopefully, people will join us and discuss about the economics and what's happening around the world. And we are coming up with a show with Mansi on Thursday, 10:30 a.m. EST and 8 p.m. IST. So looking forward for that show as well. Thank you, and have a good day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to watch Alexander.